to the Startup Breakdown, the show where we talk about startup businesses and the entrepreneurs who create them. Today marks our third episode, and on previous episodes, we talked with experts about the first step of starting a business, we talked about marketing, and we talked about advertising businesses. Today we've got three new experts, and they're going to discuss real estate issues with us today. So let's start off. Let's go around the room. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your business, and we'll take it from there. Let's start with Laban.
My name is Laban Marsh. I'm with Marsha Marsh Real Estate Services. I am the broker and co-owner of the business. And this is our 10th year in business, and it's a business named after my mother in honoring her as one of the top agents that's been in this town. And so from my perspective, I've watched what she needs and try to cater to that and then emulate that for our other agents.
That's great. Alice?
My name is Alice DeGeorge, owner of Presque Isle Printing Services. We specialize in small business and personal printing needs. We mostly focus on startup businesses, helping them, counseling them on what they need when they first start out in print.
Kyle?
My name's Kyle Bohrer, and I'm the owner of two businesses in town. One, Unishippers. We're a logistics company for small, mid-sized businesses in the Erie and Buffalo area. The other is Lendio. We're a small business loan lending marketplace. We're located on 26th and Pebble over by the Summer House Cafe in town.
And Lendio, this is a new venture for you, right?
Brand spanking. Yeah, we started about 3 weeks ago.
So you're still feeling out, as far as that business, you're still filling out the Erie market and trying to figure out who's going to need these services that you're providing.
Yeah, I mean we're a startup in ourselves for sure.
So who's the market for the Lendio business that you have? Who are you targeting?
Really, our goal is to position ourselves as a consultant for any small, mid-sized business that would need lending, as well as any startups.
And is there, when you say small or mid-sized businesses, are there any numbers you can throw at that as far as revenue or number of employees or anything?
Yeah, typically 100 employees or less is the business that we, in the space that we work best.
Okay. And Alice, with your business, you said you work with a lot of startup businesses. So, I mean, obviously the first thing I think about is business cards, but what other types of printing and services are you giving to business owners?
Well, when they first come in, we like to sit down and see where they're at. If they haven't got a logo, we start with as basic as starting with a logo. So we sit down and we kind of do a consult with what they, what colors they like, what kind of fonts they like, what image they want to put forth with their logo. Then we move into putting that logo on things. So whether it be business cards, their forms, maybe some promotional products, pins, notepads, things that they can leave with the customer or have available to just promote their business after they're gone, after they're talking. So
people aren't just coming to you to print things, they're coming to you for services and advice and some counseling along the way? Yeah,
I think about 20% of our phone calls or people that come in just have questions. They don't know where to start. It can be overwhelming with everything that you have to do, and sometimes the printing aspect is after the fact. So, but a logo is very important, for recognition outside, when you're advertising. So, it just can be anything as simple as starting with the logo, or they already have a logo and now we got to put it on something. So just getting paper products out there that, when they're talking with a customer, that they can leave with them or, leave somewhere else.
So you're helping out a lot with the early stages of a business. Mm-hmm. And Laban, you're here. You said that it's now 10 years that Marsha Marsh has been in existence.
Yeah.
You guys are now a pretty prominent name in the Erie area. So your business, maybe you don't cater so much to small business owners and entrepreneurs, but I brought you on today because you yourself are, in fact, an entrepreneur.
Right.
and have that certain mentality. So one of the things that I want to talk about a little bit today, and I think this maybe affects all of you differently, but when people are starting a business, when they're growing it or expanding it, or as changes occur, a lot of businesses need to think about physical space where they're actually going to be located in real estate. So Laban, obviously you've got some expertise on real estate. What types of things are people thinking about when they're looking into setting up a bricks and mortar location?
Well, we've all heard the term location, and especially for a small business. We opened up on Upper P Street, where 10 years ago people thought they wouldn't go south of 90 to do business with us. And then we opened in 2012 down in Corey and over on West Ridge and Mill Creek. And a year and a half ago, we opened our Harbor Creek office. In doing that, especially being a real estate entity, we have to practice what we preach. And we found that having an office location in these communities made the communities feel like we were more a part of them, knowing that we're paying taxes on our property, knowing that we're doing everything we can to beautify these locations. The building we bought in West Mill Creek, I mean, people thought we were going to knock it down. So I think there's so much potential with, especially historic properties in Erie, for business owners to look at renting versus owning. We're very fortunate in Erie's market to be able to buy some affordable real estate, and then you can personalize it and build your equity so that when you go to the banks, you have a little bit of collateral to work with.
And so how many locations do you have now? Was that
We have 4 locations.
4 locations? And my experience with realtors is I personally don't think you need a physical place where you're going to meet with people. Usually you're having closings at lawyers' offices, or you're meeting people at the homes that they're looking to buy. But what you're saying is having several locations in our little area has helped your business?
It's helped, especially, again, because of that image that we're now a part of the community. I grew up in Corey, and it wasn't until we opened up in 2012 that people said, oh, you're doing business in Corey. Well, I can do business anywhere in Pennsylvania, and I'm actually licensed in New York. But we have found that once you have that brick and mortar foundation in a community, people tend to believe that you're contributing more so. And so we just feel it's a great opportunity. Plus, and we've told our agents this, we own in a different entity than what we operate our business, which is another thing that a good attorney would tell you to consider doing, and paying rent to ourselves. And so there's tax ramifications that can really benefit you as a business owner to have a building, and again, to be building equity, but also paying some of the things that you can write off.
So Alice, the renting versus buying discussion, you've been through this. Tell us a little bit about your story related to that.
Well, when I first opened, I actually subleased a room in another building, and then about a year later, PennDOT came through with the Asbury project in Erie and moved us to another location, which was right down the street. So we were kind of still in the same neighborhood, and we were there for 6 years. I really didn't think we were going to be there that long, but 6 years flies by. And then looking for property that would help us grow bigger, double our size. And then my husband also is a small business owner, so we were looking for something that would also help him move stuff out of our basement, pretty much, into a location of his own. So we looked for about 2 years for something that would fit both our needs and have the square footage versus renting, because we actually looked to rent, but rent per square foot was like $8 to $12, and we were looking for about 2,000 square feet. So, and we just happened to come across the building that we're in now at 4318 West Ridge Road, which isn't far too from you guys'. And it was pretty dilapidated. I mean, it had been closed. It was a florist before, so it was very overgrown on the outside. And the inside, they had been closed for 3 years. So it was a lot of work. We got it for a good price, but we had to put a lot of work into it. And looking at other properties that were in move-in conditions, we just couldn't afford that. So, and we were lucky that this building has 2 rental properties, which help with paying the mortgage. So without those 2 extra rentals, we wouldn't have been able to purchase it for the price plus do all the work.
So a lot of time and effort went into selecting the right location for your business.
Yeah.
And you went through the decision of, you rented at one point, looked into renting again when you needed this additional space, but it sounds like maybe you built up a little bit of sweat equity with the landscaping and the renovations that you did in the building.
Yeah, both my husband and I would work till about 5 o'clock every night, and then go and work at the building till about 10, and we did that for about 3 months. And thankfully he's a contractor, so I was lucky that he was able to do a lot of the work. But every night we would come home about 10 o'clock exhausted and just think, is this really what we want to do? But it really worked out. It was about 3 months worth of like heavy duty work, but now we're in there, and it's just great, and it fits both of our needs. And
Kyle, you've got 2 different businesses going on right now. Are you working through these same types of decisions right now with the lending business that you're starting up? Yeah, and
I think one of the things that is important to do as you are constantly looking at the needs of your business is to evaluate where you're at the time. We've had multiple territories, Cleveland, Columbus, Buffalo, Erie. where we would lease, and sometimes pull back our lease, grow, and then look into purchasing. We had years during 09, 2010 where I worked from home. So I think, when you're talking about startups and people who are just getting going, you really want to take a look at how it can, your real estate, whether it be leasing or buying, how it can positively affect your business. Where I'm at now on 26 and Pebble, it's a Unishippers building, but for my Unishippers business, our outside reps are meeting at the location of manufacturers around Erie.
Sort of like realtors would be doing.
Very
right?
similar, yeah. So having the building logoed out, and it's really not a storefront in that people don't stop in and ask to ship with us, as opposed to Lendio, where somebody who's interested in starting up a business or might have a few documents that need to be uploaded for a potential loan. A storefront would be valuable, so walking in and being able to have a place in town where they can come in, that obviously would provide more value to me than the other business. So we're going to rebrand the building and turn it into a Lendio building.
So it's interesting because one of the benefits that you can see, and Laban, I'm sure you've seen this with your Peach Street location, is in addition to having a physical space where you can sit and work and conduct your business, you also have your own billboard out front when you have your sign sitting there, and that can be a form of free advertising. So it's interesting to hear your two businesses and how the real estate needs are completely different for the two of them. But the other thing that you touched on that I think is important is it sounds like you've had a lot of flexibility with what you do. So if you go out and buy a building, you may not have that flexibility, whereas if you're leasing it, you may have some options either to contract or expand as the business goes on. So that flexibility, I think, can be helpful for people, especially because we can never predict the future and know how our businesses are going to expand there. So that's an interesting thought. So one of the things I think we should touch on, and I think you guys have alluded to a little bit, is, Laban, you mentioned that real estate can be cheap in Erie. Alice, you mentioned a fixer-upper was a good way to go for you. So for the three of you, as you're thinking about these things and thinking about these businesses, are there any trends that you're seeing with real estate or changes that are going on that you think are important to business owners?
I think in regards to real estate, and when you look at the history of real estate, Erie has been very steady. We didn't take any major losses, but I think for a lot of us, we're frustrated that there hasn't been a lot of appreciation in value either. So it's a very safe market, and we were deciding to open the different offices, weighing out those, the value of building equity. I think the other thing with buying a building really thrusts you into that to where it eliminates your options of closing down when things get tough, because you now have that foot in the market with the brick and mortar. But I think the market has been so marginal for over a decade that it needs to begin improving, and fortunately, and most of that comes with job creation, and I think Erie's on the right track, for that, and I think my other concern is that for people who are not buying right now, if rates go up and values start to go up, they will have missed that equity gap that they could have built for themselves, especially first-time home buyers, because so many move-up buyers where they sell their first home, the people who lived in their parents' basement or whatever it may be don't have that opportunity then to cash out on some equity if they didn't get in the door at the right time.
So you're seeing an opportunity now. You think Erie's going to be on the upswing. Obviously, interest rates are very low right now, and you're viewing that as an opportunity then for people to buy.
Yeah, and even when people are selling right now, because rates have jumped over the last few years, one of the concerns I hear from sellers is that, I don't want to lose the rate that I have. And that's where we've created a property management business, because I have a license to do so that folks that want to move up, they can still retain that low interest rate by renting out their property, and that comes down to just managing the property and then having systems in place to do that. So there's a great opportunity, again, to your point of the low rates, but also because I do feel like property values are going to have to start appreciating in value. Mill Creek doesn't have much more room to grow. The city, the same thing. So there's just natural the economics that make it seem like you're gonna have to start going up in value, especially when you look throughout the country and where we're at in relation to that.
So I'm actually going to give you a counterpoint to that, because hey, I'm an attorney. I always have to play
Sure.
devil's advocate, right? But one trend that I see a lot of, and none of you guys are in retail, but brick and mortar retail is really struggling right now. And the people who own those properties, I mean, look at the Mill Creek Mall. Sears just left. JCPenney just made announcements that they're closing stores nationwide, although Erie was saved from that. Kmart's have been closing down along with the Sears thing. So, you know, that's another thing to look at. That could be another opportunity for people, that if there's property out there that maybe brick and mortar retail wasn't the solution, there could be some more space available for that. So I'm going to give myself the last word on that. We'll hop into a break right now, and we'll be back shortly. Yeah, how are we on time? I wasn't paying attention.
I was just gonna say, how do you know when to?
NCAA Division II has much to cheer about, as nearly 100,000 student athletes compete with passion and pride. And I'm pleased to share the best news of all. Student athletes are outperforming the rest of the D2 student body in graduation rates. Just another reason why you'll hear us say with pride, I chose Division II. Learn more at d2sa.org.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back. We've got three experts here today telling us a little bit about some real estate issues that are involved with starting businesses. We're going to open up a little more broadly here, though, and get some other advice from these three. First, though, Laban did want me to make it abundantly clear he's not offering any tax or accounting or legal advice to anybody, so consult with an expert on those issues, obviously. So you're covered now,
Thank you.
Laban. You're welcome. I'll send you a bill.
I'll send you a bill. That's right.
So now I want to open it up a little bit more. I mean, all three of you have been in business for quite some time, and actually I think all three of you have been running your own things longer than I have. So what's more general advice that you have to people? I mean, you're obviously all doing well enough now. You know, what things should new business owners know before they jump into this or before they go too far down the wrong path?
You know, speaking on just myself personally, I didn't know anything. I mean, I graduated with a, you know, completely mediocre GPA, you know, in political science. And
you should have gone to law school.
I was going to, but I didn't have good enough grades. But with me, it was I wanted to do it, and I think sometimes if you know, and it's cliche to say when you put in your mind to anything, you can accomplish it. But you know, I knew in the beginning as a sales rep in the one business I had that I had a fit there. And once you find it, be relentless. And you won't always have the answers. In fact, most of the time you won't. But if you are, you know, humble enough to say, I don't know all the answers, and I'm going to surround myself with the best and as many people as I possibly can to get those answers, and then offer a service or a good where you're telling people, listen, what I'm giving you, I've done everything I can to make sure that it's the best that's going to, you know, help you out either personally or in your business if you're a vendor. You know, really, it's hard to fail. That's kind of what's really taken me 10 years.
That's actually a really common thing that I hear, and it's a common piece of advice I give to other people is you don't know everything, nor are you going to be particularly good at most things, but find the things that you do well and stick to it, and then talk to the experts on the other stuff. And what's also been incredible to me is, for the most part, people are willing to share their experiences and the things they've done wrong. I mean, anybody who wants to start a law practice can come to me with questions, and I'll tell you what not to do, and don't bother recreating the wheel. Maybe it creates a little bit of competition for me, but that's not totally a bad thing.
We were talking about it at lunch, right? I mean, I hate to steal Laban's thunder here, but
you're right.
Competition, like Laban and I, we were having lunch before, and if you're afraid to get into competition, and you're losing before you even start, right? That was Laban's line.
Yeah, if you're afraid of competition, you should probably go get a job working for somebody else.
That's right. Yeah, punch the clock.
Yeah. So Alice, give us your advice.
I'm kind of with Kyle.
No, you have to come up with something new.
Well, okay. Well, I'll start there. But same thing. I mean, I didn't wake up and say I was going to start a print shop. I ended up losing a couple jobs within 6 months of each other in that industry, and kind of just wanted to keep doing it, and literally knew nothing. Went to my tax guy at the time and said, how do I start a business? And he said, give me $150. We'll get your EIN number and all that. And what is your name? I don't know yet. So, even as simple as that. But I think going through all those struggles and just expecting to fail and being happy when you don't helps me with all the new businesses that we counsel on a regular basis. So again, not reinventing the wheel, asking questions with people that already know things. So if you have insurance questions, ask your insurance guy. I think with services, be good at a lot of things, but get better as you grow. So don't get under a big umbrella of debt right away. You don't need all new stuff. Start small and then grow as needed. I think one of the things that I pride myself on is everything's paid off. So when I do need to get a new machine, I can go and get a small business loan because I have collateral already built up. So we look at what trends are happening on a regular basis and kind of go with the flow. We've been getting a lot of calls for stickers. We just invested in a label maker machine. So, and that's a whole new learning curve with stocks and things like that. So I think that you just have to grow slowly, but keep up with what's out there, and I think you'll be successful.
So you crammed a lot in there, and I want to hit on 2 points. You mentioned the word failure, and I think that's something that's important for people to understand. Is I think you said be prepared for failure or expect it.
Be excited when you.
So
don't.
there's that. Yeah, that's some great advice. We talked about this on a prior episode with RJ from Iron Empire, but failure I think is all in a state of mind. Like use it more as a learning experience than anything else. So, but you've helped to avoid failure by maybe not being as leveraged as you could have been and having all the nice fancy new equipment. So I think that's a great piece of advice. But the other thing with your sticker machine, you were listening to your customers, right? They're coming to you saying, here's a service that we need that we're willing to pay for, and now you're offering it to them.
Right.
And that, I mean, you're getting free advice from your customers there, and that's a great way to grow a business. So.
And that's usually how we purchase more equipment, is we listen, and if we're vending it out or we're sending them to other places, we kind of look at that and say, how much would it cost to buy that machine? Do we have people? Yes, after 6 months, we have X amount of people that are calling for that service that we are unable to provide them or send them somewhere else. So there's cash that we're not getting. So, with a little bit of investment, and again, saving up your pennies in order to buy it instead of leasing it or, getting something that's ridiculous that you don't need. Our business is a niche business where, we can service this small amount versus the bigger print stores or the box stores. So, we're looking at stickers from 50 to 100, not 5,000. So we know, and I don't want to say limitations, but we know the limits that we want to go after, and that's kind of where we go with.
But that could be a big segment of the market too. Not everybody needs 5,000 stickers.
They don't. Most of the small businesses that we deal with are starting a new product, and they just want to get some stickers on some products, 50 at a time, because that might, with them changing and growing, they might need to change it. So they don't want to spend, thousands of dollars on hundreds and hundreds of labels when it's something that's not going to be there 2 weeks from now.
So you're helping them minimize the risk of failure and keep their overhead low too.
Exactly.
That's good.
Exactly.
Laban?
Well, for me, I think you have to seek advisors, especially in real estate. We rely on attorneys, we rely on lenders, on inspectors, and being able to communicate with them, and I mean, that's a major factor. The other thing as a small business is to create systems. and then be willing to change if those systems aren't working. I think you create systems to eliminate problems, create solutions. As a small business, that's the biggest thing. And what's great, our agents know that they can make recommendations to us, and we'll at least listen to them. I had an old coach that used to say, I know the monsters I create. So we know the business we've created, but that's not to say we know everything. And there's that duality of confidence and yet humility. And so I think that's where if you start doing too much of what other people recommend who aren't professionals, I love it when people come in and say, well, my mom and dad said I shouldn't buy this building, and how many buildings do they own? Well, they haven't bought in 30 years. Well, you might want to talk to somebody who's buying 3, 4, 5 a year. And so again, seeking advisors, the right advisors, but then to operate the business, creating systems that find solutions, because we all know the problems. So we need to find solutions, and usually systems can be created to eliminate a lot of the problems.
But when creating systems, are these things that you're inventing from scratch, or are you working with other people and getting their advice on how to do it?
Well, for us, we've always sought coaches throughout the country, and Erie's market is so niche that you have to understand Erie's market to be able to say, okay, I hear what the coaches are saying, but I know enough about my market to know what to do. And so I think, yeah, that's something where you have to know enough about your business to feel confident in what you're doing, but again, be willing to change if something's not working.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. 3 experts, again, telling us their insight into starting and running and growing businesses. Today we heard all about being flexible, consulting with experts, taking on risks but minimizing your risks. And I thank the 3 of you very much for being on today. I really appreciate the input.
Thank you.
And I think, again, the bottom line is there is no one right way to do this. So thank you very much.